The Galactic Mockery. The sleek hull of the ESS Curiosity glinted in the light of an alien sun as it approached the massive galactic hub of Zephyria. Captain Ava Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the looming space station that dwarfed her ship like a whale next to a minnow. The Curiosity, Earth's most advanced exploratory vessel, suddenly felt small and inadequate in the face of such technological marvels. "Comms are open, Captain," reported Lieutenant Raj Patel, his fingers dancing over the holographic interface. "We're being hailed by Zephyrian traffic control." Iva nodded, straightening her uniform. This was humanity's first official contact with the greater galactic community, and she was determined to make a good impression. "On screen, Lieutenant." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that looked like a cross between a praying mantis and a jellyfish. Its translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, and multiple eyes swiveled to focus on Ava. Unidentified vessel, the alien's voice crackled through the ship's speakers, a mix of clicks and whistles that the universal translator struggled to interpret. "State your business and species of origin." Ava cleared her throat. "This is Captain Ava Chen of the Earth ship Curiosity. We come in peace, seeking to establish diplomatic relations and trade agreements with the galactic community." There was a moment of silence, then a sound that might have been laughter filtered through the comms. "Earth." That primitive mud ball on the outer spiral arm. The alien's body rippled with amusement. "Very well, tiny Earth ship. You may dock in Bay 47X. Try not to scratch anything with your quaint vessel." The screen went dark, leaving Ava and her crew in stunned silence. "Well, Dr. Ilara Voss, the ship's xenobiologist, said dryly. That went swimmingly." As the Curiosity maneuvered into the designated docking bay, the crew couldn't help but gape at the sheer scale and diversity of the ships around them. There were vessels that looked like floating cities, others that seemed to be made of pure energy, and some that defied description altogether. "I feel like I'm parking a horse and buggy at a spaceport," muttered Chief Engineer Zach Donovan, as he guided the ship into place. Once docked, Ava led a small away team consisting of herself, Dr. Voss, Lieutenant Patel, and Security Chief Maria Kovacs onto the station. They were immediately struck by the cacophony of sights, sounds, and smells that assaulted their senses. Aliens of every conceivable shape and size bustled about, many pausing to stare at the humans with a mix of curiosity and disdain. A holographic guide materialized before them, its form constantly shifting between various alien species. "Welcome to Zephyria, Earth delegates. Please follow the designated path to the diplomatic sector. Try not to touch anything. We wouldn't want you to contaminate our advanced systems with your primitive microbes." As they walked, Ava couldn't shake the feeling that they were being treated more like a traveling circus than a diplomatic envoy. Aliens pointed and whispered, some even taking holo-images as if the humans were some rare exhibit. They were led to a vast chamber where representatives from various species were gathered. A tall, willowy being with iridescent skin approached them, its expression unreadable. "I am High Counselor Zix of the Galactic Confederation. We welcome you to our humble gathering of civilized worlds." Ava stepped forward, extending a hand in greeting. "Thank you, High Counselor. We're honored to be here and eager to learn from your advanced civilizations." Zix looked at Ava's outstretched hand as if it were a curious insect. "Yes, well, let us hope you can. Keep up. Now, I believe you wish to discuss trade agreements." For the next several hours, Ava and her team found themselves in a frustrating cycle of patronizing explanations and dismissive responses. Every proposal they made was met with thinly veiled amusement or outright rejection. "You see," a blob-like creature gurgled, its gelatinous form quivering with mirth, "your species has barely mastered faster-than-light travel. What could you possibly offer us that we don't already have in abundance?" Dr. Voss, usually the calmest of the group, was visibly struggling to maintain her composure. "With all due respect, every species has something unique to offer. Humanity's strength lies in our adaptability. our creativity. Yes, yes, interrupted a being that looked like a sentient crystal formation. We've heard similar claims from other fledgling races, perhaps in a few millennia. You might have something worth trading. For now, why don't you observe and learn from your betters? Ava felt her patience wearing thin, but years of diplomatic training kept her voice level. We understand that we're new to the galactic stage, but we're quick learners. If given the chance, I'm confident we could. A deafening alarm cut through the air, causing several of the more sensitive alien species to recoil in pain. Red emergency lights began flashing throughout the chamber. What's happening? Ava shouted over the din. High Counselor Zix's normally composed features were twisted with concern. Impossible. The station's primary reactor is destabilizing. If it's not contained, the resulting explosion could tear a hole in the fabric of space-time. As panic began to spread through the chamber, Ava exchanged glances with her team. This might be their chance to prove humanity's worth, if they could survive long enough to help. Little did they know, this crisis would be just the beginning of an adventure that would challenge everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe, and ultimately reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. A chance to prove worth. The chamber erupted into chaos as various alien diplomats scrambled for safety. Amidst the pandemonium, Captain Ava Chen's voice cut through the noise, sharp and authoritative. "Everyone, please remain calm," she shouted, her years of crisis management training kicking in. "Panicking will only make the situation worse. High Counselor Zix, what are our options?" The willowy alien turned to Ava, its iridescent skin pulsing with distress. "Our engineering teams are already en route to the reactor core, but—" Zix hesitated, mandibles clicking nervously. "The radiation levels are beyond what most species can withstand. It may be too late." Ava's mind raced. This was their moment. A chance to show what humans were made of. She turned to her team. "Dr. Voss, what do you know about the station's power systems?" The xenobiologist's eyes lit up with understanding. "From what I observed during our tour, they're using a form of antimatter catalyzed fusion. It's similar to some experimental designs we've been working on back on Earth." "Chief Kovacs," Ava continued, "how long can our radiation suits withstand those levels?" The security chief did some quick mental calculations with the latest nanofiber shielding. "Maybe 30 minutes, tops." Ava nodded, a plan forming. "That might be just enough time. Lieutenant Patel, contact the Curiosity. Have them prepare our hazard suits and any radiation-hardened equipment we have." High Counselor Zix watched this exchange with a mixture of confusion and growing interest. "Captain Chen, surely you're not proposing to." "We're going in," Ava stated firmly. "Our suits may give us the edge we need to reach the reactor core." A ripple of murmurs spread through the alien delegates. The blob-like creature that had mocked them earlier oozed forward. "This is preposterous. You'll be vaporized before you even reach the core. Let the professionals handle this." Dr. Voss stepped up, her voice steady despite the tension. "With all due respect, your professionals can't even approach the reactor safely. We may be your only shot at preventing a catastrophe." High Counselor Zix's multiple eyes blinked in rapid succession. "The humans may have a point. Our options are limited, and time is running out." Ava didn't wait for further debate. "We'll need access to your engineering schematics and a direct line to your control center. Every second counts." As if sensing the shift in the room, the alien delegates parted, allowing the human team swift passage. They raced through the station's winding corridors, passing panicked aliens of all descriptions. Within minutes, they reached the Curiosity's airlock where Zach Donovan waited with their hazard gear. "Took the liberty of making some quick modifications," the engineer said as he helped them suit up. "Rerouted power from non-essential systems to boost the rad shielding. Should buy us an extra 10 minutes or so." Ava nodded approvingly. "Good thinking, Zach. You're with us on this one. We'll need your expertise." Fully equipped, the team made their way to the reactor sector. Alien engineers eyed them with a mix of skepticism and desperate hope as they approached the sealed bulkhead leading to the core. A holographic display flickered to life, showing the stern face of the station's chief engineer, a being that looked like a cross between an octopus and a supercomputer. "This is madness," it gurgled. "But since you insist on this suicide mission, listen carefully. The reactor's magnetic containment field is failing. You need to manually realign the field generators and initiate an emergency shutdown sequence." "Understood," Ava replied. "We're going in." As the bulkhead hissed open, a wave of heat and the acrid smell of ozone washed over them. The team stepped into the reactor chamber, and for a moment, even they were awestruck by the sight. A miniature sun pulsed at the center, barely contained by flickering energy fields. "All right, people," Ava said, snapping them back to focus. "Zach, you and I will handle the field generators. Ilara, monitor our radiation exposure. Raj, maintain communications with the control center. Maria, keep an eye on our exit route. Let's move." They worked with practiced efficiency, each member falling into their role. Zach's fingers flew over alien control panels, his engineer's intuition allowing him to decipher the unfamiliar systems with remarkable speed. "Captain," Ilara called out, her voice tense. "Radiation levels are spiking. We've got maybe 20 minutes before our suits fail." Ava gritted her teeth, sweat beading on her forehead despite the suit's cooling systems. "Understood. Zach, how are we looking?" The engineer grunted as he wrestled with a stubborn piece of equipment. "Almost there. One more generator to go. Then we can initiate the shutdown." Outside the chamber, aliens of various species watched in astonishment as the humans worked. The octopus-like chief engineer's tentacles writhed in agitation. Impossible. They're actually doing it. But just as victory seemed within reach, a violent tremor shook the station. Ava stumbled, nearly falling into a pool of superheated plasma. Maria's quick reflexes saved her, yanking the captain back at the last second. "Status report," Ava barked. Raj's voice crackled through their comms. "The containment field just took another hit. We've got multiple breaches forming." Zach swore colorfully. "The shutdown sequence won't complete in time. We need to buy ourselves a few more minutes." Ava's mind raced. They were so close, but physics itself seemed to be working against them. Then an idea struck her, crazy, desperate, but just maybe crazy enough to work. "Zach," she called out, "remember that paper you were obsessing over last month? The one about using gravitational waves to stabilize wormholes?" The engineer's eyes widened behind his faceplate. "You can't be serious. That was pure theory, completely untested." "Well, no time like the present for a field test," Ava replied grimly. "Can you rig something up using the station's artificial gravity systems?" For a split second, Zach hesitated. Then a manic grin spread across his face. "Oh hell, why not? We're probably dead anyway, if this doesn't work." What followed was a frenzy of activity that left their alien observers baffled. Zach barked instructions to the control center, requesting access to systems that had never been meant to interact. Ava and the others followed his lead, rerouting power, reconfiguring force fields, and generally breaking every rule in the engineering handbook. "This is insanity," the alien chief engineer protested. "You'll tear the station apart." "Trust us," Ava replied, her voice steady despite the maelstrom of doubts in her mind. "Sometimes you need to think outside the box." As the reactor core pulsed ominously, growing more unstable by the second, Zach made the final adjustments. "Here goes nothing," he muttered, and activated the jury-rigged system. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly but surely, the violent fluctuations in the reactor began to subside. The gravitational waves generated by their makeshift device were actually working, creating a stabilizing effect that bought them the precious minutes they needed. "Shutdown sequence reinitialized," Raj reported, his voice tight with excitement. "It's working." The team held their breath as the reactor's glow dimmed, the furious energies contained within gradually dissipating. Finally, with a last, almost petulant sputter, the core went dark. Silence fell over the chamber, broken only by the heavy breathing of the human team. Then, slowly, a cheer began to build from outside. Aliens of all descriptions were celebrating, their earlier disdain for the humans forgotten in the wake of their incredible achievement. As they stumbled out of the reactor chamber, exhausted but triumphant, they were met by a crowd of astonished faces. High Counselor Zix pushed to the front, its iridescent skin shimmering with what might have been embarrassment. "Captain Chen," the alien began, mandibles clicking hesitantly. We owe you and your team a profound apology. We gravely underestimated your species' capabilities." Ava managed a tired smile. "No apology necessary, High Counselor. We're just glad we could help." The blob-like creature that had mocked them earlier oozed forward, its gelatinous form quivering with what might have been excitement. "Simply remarkable. To think, using gravitational waves to stabilize a reactor core. It's brilliantly unorthodox." Dr. Voss couldn't help but smile. "That's kind of our specialty. Humanity has a knack for finding unconventional solutions." As the aliens crowded around, peppering them with questions and expressions of gratitude, Ava felt a surge of pride. They had come to this station as objects of ridicule, but in the span of a few hours, they had proven humanity's worth on the galactic stage. But even as they basked in their success, a nagging thought tugged at the back of Ava's mind. The reactor malfunction had been serious, yes, but also surprisingly convenient in its timing, and some of the readings Raj had recorded during the crisis didn't quite add up. She pushed the thoughts aside for now. There would be time for investigations later. For now, they had a foot in the door of the galactic community, and Ava intended to make the most of it. As they made their way back to the diplomatic chamber, now hailed as heroes, Ava couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning. Humanity had proven itself in a crisis, but the real challenge lay ahead, forging lasting relationships in this vast, complex galactic society. Little did they know, their actions had set in motion events that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy and thrust humanity into a conflict beyond anything they could have imagined. The looming threat. In the days following the reactor incident, the atmosphere on SCiFi had shifted dramatically. Where once the human delegation had been met with condescension and ridicule, they now found themselves the center of attention. Alien diplomats clamored to meet with them, eager to discuss potential collaborations and trade agreements. Captain Ava Chen sat in a private meeting room, surrounded by her core team. Despite their newfound popularity, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. "All right, people," she began, her voice low. "I know we're all riding high on our recent success, but I can't be the only one who thinks this whole situation stinks worse than a Jovian methane storm." Dr. Ilara Voss nodded, her usual calm demeanor tinged with concern. "I've been analyzing the reactor's maintenance logs, the system failures that led to the crisis. They're statistically improbable, to say the least." "Improbable? Hell," Chief Engineer Zach Donovan snorted. "Those failures were deliberately induced. Someone wanted that reactor to blow." Lieutenant Raj Patel leaned forward, his dark eyes serious. "I've been monitoring station communications. There's been an uptick in encrypted transmissions since the incident. Something big is brewing, and I don't think it's a thank you party for us." Security Chief Maria Kovacs cracked her knuckles, a habit that always preceded her most serious statements. "We need to tread carefully. We're still newcomers here, and we don't know who we can trust." Ava nodded, a plan already forming in her mind. "Agreed. Raj, I want you to keep digging into those communications. Ilara, see if you can get access to more detailed station records. Use our new hero status if you have to. Zach, Maria, I want you two to do some discreet poking around the station's less reputable areas. There's always an underworld, even in space, and they might know things the official channels won't tell us." As her team dispersed to their tasks, Ava steeled herself for a meeting with High Counselor Zix. She had a feeling the willowy alien knew more than it was letting on. The following hours were a whirlwind of covert activity. Rad's fingers flew over holographic interfaces, decrypting transmissions that should have been impenetrable. Ilara charmed her way into restricted archives, her scientific curiosity serving as the perfect cover for her true intentions. Zack and Maria found themselves in the station's shadowy underbelly, a maze of dimly lit corridors where creatures of all descriptions traded in secrets and contraband. As the pieces of the puzzle began to come together, a chilling picture emerged. The reactor incident was just the tip of the iceberg. A test, a probe to gauge the response of the station's inhabitants and defenders. Ava's meeting with High Counselor Zix only confirmed her suspicions. The usually composed alien was agitated, its iridescent skin flickering with patterns that Dr. Voss later translated as extreme distress. "Captain Chen," Zix began, mandibles clicking nervously, "I fear we may have inadvertently drawn you and your species into a conflict beyond your understanding." Ava's eyes narrowed. "With all due respect, Counselor, I think it's time you filled us in. What exactly are we dealing with here?" Zix hesitated, then activated a holographic display. A star map of the galaxy appeared, with a strange shadowy mass encroaching from the outer rim. "We call them the Void Collective. They are not like us, not like any living thing we've encountered." As Zix spoke, the hologram zoomed in on the edge of the shadowy mass. Ava's blood ran cold at what she saw. Ships, if they could be called that, vast otherworldly constructs that seemed to defy the laws of physics. They moved like a swarm of insects, consuming everything in their path. "They appeared on our long-range scans a few cycles ago," Zix continued. "At first, we thought it was a sensor malfunction. But as they drew closer, we realized the terrible truth. They are not interested in diplomacy or trade. They seek only to consume, to assimilate all matter and energy into their collective." Ava's mind raced, connecting the dots. The reactor incident. It was a test. You wanted to see how we'd respond to a crisis. Zix's mandibles clicked in what might have been approval. "Perceptive, Captain. Yes, we needed to know if your species had the potential to help us fight this threat. Your unorthodox solution to the reactor problem gave us hope. Hope that perhaps, with humanity's unique approach to problem-solving, we might stand a chance against the Void Collective." Ava felt a mix of anger and understanding wash over her. "You could have just asked for our help, you know. Putting lives at risk for a test. That's not how we do things." "Perhaps," Zix conceded. "But you must understand, Captain. We have encountered many species over the millennia. Most, when faced with a threat of this magnitude, choose to flee, to save themselves rather than stand and fight. We needed to know what humanity would do when pushed to the brink." Before Ava could respond, her communicator buzzed. It was Raj, his voice tight with urgency. "Captain, you need to see this. Now." Minutes later, Ava and Zix joined the rest of the human team in a secluded data hub. The tension in the room was palpable as Raj pulled up a series of decrypted transmissions. "I've been tracking communications between several high-ranking officials across different species," Raj explained. "There's a faction that believes fighting the Void Collective is hopeless. They're planning to sacrifice outlying systems, including Earth's sector, to buy time for their own escape." A stunned silence fell over the room. Ava felt a cold fury building inside her. "They're going to abandon billions to save themselves," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. High Counselor Zix's form seemed to shrink. I had no knowledge of this plan. But I cannot say I'm entirely surprised. Fear makes cowards of even the noblest beings." Zack slammed his fist on the console, his face red with anger. "Like hell, we're going to let that happen. There's got to be a way to stop these void bastards." Dr. Voss, ever the voice of reason, spoke up. "We need more information. Counselor Zix, what do we know about the Void Collective's weaknesses? There must be something we can use against them." Zix's skin rippled with uncertainty. Our knowledge is limited. Their technology is so far beyond ours that it might as well be magic. But there have been rumors, whispers of an ancient weapon created by a long-extinct race called the Precursors. A weapon said to be capable of unraveling the very fabric of the Void Collective. Ava's eyes lit up with a dangerous gleam. A weapon? Where is it? If it exists, Zix replied, it would be hidden in the most dangerous, unexplored regions of the galaxy. No expedition that has gone searching for it has ever returned. A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. They were facing an almost impossible choice. Stay and try to rally a defense against an overwhelmingly superior force, or embark on a potentially suicidal mission to find a weapon that might not even exist. Ava looked around at her team, seeing the same determination reflected in their eyes that she felt in her heart. "I think we all know what we have to do," she said quietly. Maria nodded grimly. "We're not going to sit back and let Earth become a sacrificial lamb. If there's even a chance this weapon exists, we have to try." "It's not just about Earth," Ilara added. "Think of all the species, all the worlds that would be lost if we don't act. We have a responsibility to try." Zack grinned, a manic glint in his eye. "Besides, impossible odds are kind of our specialty, right? Might as well go all in." Ava turned to High Counselor Zix, her decision made. "We're going after the weapon, but we can't do it alone. We'll need a ship capable of venturing into unexplored space, and any information you can give us on the Precursors and their technology." Zix was silent for a long moment, its multiple eyes blinking in rapid succession. Finally, it spoke. "What you propose is madness, a suicide mission by any rational calculation." It paused, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "And yet it might be our only hope." "Very well, Captain Chen. You shall have whatever resources we can spare. But understand this, once you leave Zephyria, you will be on your own. We cannot risk drawing the Void Collective's attention to your mission." Ava nodded, the weight of responsibility settling heavily on her shoulders. "Understood, Counselor. We'll take whatever help we can get." As they began to plan their desperate mission, Ava couldn't help but marvel at the strange turns of fate. They had come to Zephyria seeking diplomatic relations and trade agreements. Now they found themselves the last, best hope for not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. The next few days were a blur of feverish preparation. The Curiosity was retrofitted with the most advanced technology Zephyria could provide, its systems pushed to limits that would have been unthinkable just weeks ago. The crew expanded, with a handful of alien specialists joining their ranks, each chosen for their unique skills and their willingness to embark on what might well be a one-way journey. As they made final preparations to depart, Ava stood on the observation deck, gazing out at the vast expanse of space. The enormity of their task threatened to overwhelm her, but she pushed the doubt aside. They had a galaxy to save, and humanity would not go quietly into the night. With a final nod to High Counselor Zix, Ava gave the order. The Curiosity, now barely recognizable as the humble exploration vessel it had once been, detached from Zephyria's docking clamps. As they accelerated away from the station, Ava couldn't shake the feeling that they were leaving behind more than just a temporary home. They were leaving behind the last vestiges of their old lives, venturing into a universe far more vast and perilous than they had ever imagined. But with that danger came opportunity. The chance to prove once and for all that humanity belonged among the stars. As the Curiosity leaped into faster-than-light travel, Ava allowed herself a small smile. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, carrying with them the hopes and dreams of Earth and countless alien worlds. The hunt for the precursor weapon had begun, and with it, a new chapter in galactic history was about to be written. Against all odds, the vastness of unexplored space stretched before the ESS Curiosity, a dark canvas punctuated by the distant glimmer of unknown stars. Captain Ava Chen stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the main view screen as it displayed their projected course into the galactic unknown. "Status report," she called out, her voice steady despite the tension that hung in the air. Lieutenant Raj Patel's fingers danced over his console. "We've cleared the last known navigation beacons, Captain. From here on out, we're flying blind." Dr. Ilara Voss looked up from her station, her brow furrowed in concentration. "I've been analyzing the data High Counselor Zix provided on the precursors. If their weapon exists, all signs point to a region known as the Cerulean Void." Zach Donovan snorted from his engineering station. "Cheery name. Let me guess, it's full of deadly radiation and space monsters." "Actually," Ilara replied, a hint of excitement creeping into her voice, "it's a region of space where the normal laws of physics don't seem to apply. Gravitational anomalies, time dilation effects, spontaneous energy formations. It's a scientist's dream and a navigator's nightmare." Ava nodded grimly. "In other words, the perfect place to hide a superweapon. Raj, set a course for the Cerulean Void. Zach, I want constant monitoring of our ship's integrity. The slightest anomaly could tear us apart out here." As the Curiosity ventured deeper into uncharted space, the crew fell into a tense routine. Days blended into weeks, marked only by the ever-changing starscape outside their viewports. The alien specialists who had joined their crew proved invaluable, their unique perspectives and abilities complementing the human team in unexpected ways. Zixel, a crystalline being from a silicon-based civilization, had an uncanny ability to interpret gravitational fluctuations. Its faceted body would shimmer and resonate in response to spatial distortions, giving them precious seconds of warning before each anomaly hit. Naraki, a gaseous entity contained within a high-tech environment suit, could perceive energy wavelengths far beyond human capacity. Her insights allowed them to navigate the treacherous energy storms that became more frequent as they approached the Cerulean Void. But even with their enhanced capabilities, the journey pushed them to their limits. Gravitational shears threatened to tear the ship apart, forcing Zach and his engineering team to work miracles on an almost hourly basis. Temporal eddies played havoc with their perception of time, leading to disorienting situations where minutes on the bridge translated to hours in the engine room. Through it all, Ava held the crew together, her unwavering determination a beacon of hope in the face of cosmic chaos. But even she couldn't hide the toll the journey was taking. Dark circles formed under her eyes, and her normally immaculate uniform became perpetually rumpled. As they approached the outer boundaries of the Cerulean Void, disaster struck. A massive gravitational wave, unlike anything they had encountered before, slammed into the Curiosity. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems overloaded and failed. "Hull breach in sections 7 through 12. Maria shouted over the cacophony. "Emergency force fields are holding, but we're venting atmosphere." Zach's voice crackled over the comms, strained and breathless. "Captain, the main power core is destabilizing. We've got maybe 10 minutes before it goes critical." Ava's mind raced. They were so close to their goal, but the ship was quite literally falling apart around them. Then, an idea struck her, crazy, desperate, but just maybe crazy enough to work. "Ilara," she called out, "you said the normal laws of physics don't apply here, right? What if we use that to our advantage?" The xenobiologist's eyes widened as she caught on to Ava's train of thought. "You're suggesting we intentionally trigger a temporal anomaly. Captain, the risks are greater than being atomized when our core breaches. I'll take those odds." Ava cut in. "Zach, can you rig the power core to emit a controlled temporal pulse?" There was a moment of stunned silence from the engineer. Maybe? But Captain, we'd be flying blind into a time distortion. We could end up flung across the galaxy, or worse." "We don't have a choice," Ava said firmly. "It's this or we lose everything. Do it." What followed was a frenzy of activity that pushed the limits of human and alien ingenuity alike. Zach and Zixel worked in tandem, the humans' intuitive engineering skills meshing with the aliens' crystalline resonance to reconfigure the power core. Naraki's gaseous form flowed through the ship's conduits, making adjustments that no solid being could reach. As the ship shuddered and groaned around them, Ava felt a swell of pride. This was humanity at its best, facing the impossible with creativity and sheer determination. "Ready on your mark, Captain." Zach's voice rang out, tinged with equal parts excitement and terror. Ava took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the command interface. "May whatever gods are out here be with us," she murmured. "Initiate temporal pulse. Now." For a heartbeat, nothing seemed to happen. Then, reality itself seemed to twist and warp around them. The view screen exploded with colors that had no name, patterns that hurt the mind to look upon. Ava felt as if she were being stretched and compressed simultaneously, her very atoms screaming in protest. And then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. The Curiosity hummed motionless in space, surrounded by an unfamiliar starscape. For a long moment, silence reigned on the bridge, broken only by the soft beeping of consoles coming back online. "Status report," Ava managed to croak out, her voice hoarse. Raj was the first to respond, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Captain, you're not going to believe this. According to our sensors, we're in the heart of the cerulean void. We've jumped nearly 50 light years in an instant." A ragged cheer went up from the crew. Against all odds, their desperate gamble had paid off. But their elation was short-lived as the reality of their situation set in. "The ship's taken a beating," Zach reported, his voice grim. "We've got multiple systems offline, and the hull integrity is at 62%. We're not going anywhere fast." Ava nodded, already formulating their next move. "All right, people, we didn't come this far to give up now. Zach, focus on getting our long-range sensors back online. If the precursor weapon is out there, we need to find it fast." As the crew set about their tasks with renewed determination, Ava couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The cerulean void lived up to its reputation. Swirling energy patterns danced across the view screen, and gravitational eddies tugged at the ship like capricious currents. Hours passed as they scanned the surrounding space, each moment stretching their nerves to the breaking point. Just as despair began to set in, Naraki's excited trill cut through the tension. "Energy signature detected," the gaseous alien exclaimed, her environment suit pulsing with excitement. "Pattern matches precursor technology described in Zephyrian records." Ava leaned forward, her heart pounding. On screen. "Where is it coming from?" The view screen shifted, zooming in on what appeared to be a massive structure floating in the void. It defied easy description. Part space station, part living organism, with crystalline spires that seemed to phase in and out of reality. By all the stars, Ilara breathed, her scientific curiosity overriding her usual composure. "It's beautiful." But as they watched, a chill ran down Ava's spine. The structure was not alone. Surrounding it, almost invisible against the backdrop of swirling energies, were ships. Ships that matched the terrifying descriptions of the Void Collective. "They beat us here," Ava said, her voice barely above a whisper. The Void Collective found the weapon first. A heavy silence fell over the bridge as the implications sank in. They had come so far, overcome so much, only to find their goal in the hands of the enemy. But Ava Chen had not come this far to give up. She straightened, her eyes blazing with determination. "All right, people, new plan. We may be outnumbered and outgunned, but we've got one advantage. They don't know we're here. Raj, plot us a stealth approach. Maria, I want tactical options. Zach, squeeze every ounce of power you can out of our systems. We're going to take that weapon, even if we have to go through the entire Void Collective to do it." As the crew sprang into action, Ava allowed herself a grim smile. This was what humanity did best, facing impossible odds with ingenuity, courage, and just a touch of insanity. The Void Collective might have the numbers, but they were about to learn a painful lesson about underestimating the human spirit. The final battle for the fate of the galaxy was about to begin, and Ava Chen intended to write its conclusion in terms that would echo across the stars for eons to come. A new era of cooperation. The ESS Curiosity hung in the void, a tiny speck of human ingenuity dwarfed by the massive precursor structure and the looming presence of the Void Collective ships. On the bridge, Captain Ava Chen's mind raced, formulating and discarding plans at lightning speed. "All right, team," she said, her voice low but filled with determination. "We've got one shot at this. Raj, what's our stealth status?" Lieutenant Patel's fingers danced over his console. "We're running silent, Captain. The gravitational anomalies in this region are actually working in our favor, masking our approach. But we can't stay hidden forever." Ava nodded. "Zach, status on our systems." The engineer's voice crackled over the comms, strained but determined. "We're held together with spit and prayers, Captain. I've managed to reroute power to essential systems, but we're running on fumes. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it fast." "Understood. Dr. Voss, what can you tell me about that precursor structure?" Hilara's eyes were glued to her sensor readings, a mix of scientific fascination and strategic calculation in her gaze. "It's unlike anything we've ever encountered, Captain. The energy readings are off the charts. If this is indeed the weapon we're looking for, it's clear why the Void Collective wants it. But there's something else." She trailed off, her brow furrowed in concentration. "What is it, Doctor?" Ava pressed. "The structure. It's not just a weapon. It's alive, in a sense. It's reacting to the presence of the Void Collective ships, almost like an immune system responding to a threat." This new information sent Ava's thoughts spinning in a new direction. If the structure was alive, perhaps it could be reasoned with, or at least influenced. It was a long shot, but then again, their entire mission had been one improbable success after another. "All right, new plan," Ava announced. "We're going to make contact with that structure. Naraki, can you use your energy perception abilities to establish some kind of communication link?" The gaseous alien's environment suit pulsed with excitement. "It is possible, Captain. The energy patterns are complex, but there are rhythms, harmonics that suggest a form of consciousness. I will need to get closer, however." Ava took a deep breath, knowing she was about to ask her crew to take an enormous risk. "Here's what we're going to do. Zach, I need you to divert all power to our shields and Naraki's communication array. We're going to make a run straight for the structure. Raj, plot us a course that uses the Void Collective ships as cover for as long as possible. Maria, be ready with evasive maneuvers the moment we're detected." The tension on the bridge was palpable as the crew prepared for what might well be their final mission. Ava's voice softened for a moment as she addressed her team. "I want you all to know, it has been the highest honor of my life to serve with you. Whatever happens next, we've come further than anyone could have imagined. We've shown the galaxy what humanity is capable of. Now, let's finish this." With a collective deep breath, the crew of the Curiosity sprang into action. The ship surged forward, weaving between the massive Void Collective vessels with a grace that belied its battered condition. For precious moments, they remained undetected, slipping through the enemy formation like a ghost. But their luck couldn't hold forever. Alarms blared as the Void Collective finally noticed the intruder in their midst. Energy weapons of incomprehensible power lashed out, missing the Curiosity by mere meters as Maria's expert piloting kept them just ahead of destruction. "We're taking heavy fire," Maria shouted, her hands flying over the controls. "Shields are failing." "Zach, we need more power," Ava commanded. "I'm giving her all she's got, Captain," the engineer's strained voice replied. "Any more, and we'll tear ourselves apart." They were so close now, the precursor structure filling their view screen. Its crystalline spires seemed to reach out to them, pulsing with otherworldly energy. "Naraki, now," Ava ordered. The alien's gaseous form surged through specially designed conduits, interfacing directly with the ship's communication array. The bridge was filled with an eerie, harmonious hum as Naraki attempted to make contact with the ancient construct. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to happen. The Void Collective ships closed in, their weapons charging for a final devastating barrage. Ava gripped her command chair, steeling herself for the end. Then, miraculously, the precursor structure responded. A beam of pure, blinding energy lanced out, engulfing the Curiosity. But instead of destruction, the crew felt peace, understanding. In that moment of connection, the living weapon recognized them not as a threat, but as the antithesis of the Void Collective, beings of creation and cooperation rather than consumption and assimilation. Through Naraki, the ancient consciousness communicated its purpose. It was not merely a weapon, but a seed of creation, designed by the long-vanished precursors to rewrite reality itself in the face of cosmic threats. But it required a spark of life, of free will and determination, to activate its full potential. With sudden clarity, Ava understood what needed to be done. "Everyone, focus your thoughts," she called out. "Think of Earth, of all the worlds we're fighting to save. Think of life, of growth, of everything the Void Collective seeks to destroy." As one, the diverse crew of the Curiosity, human and alien alike, concentrated their will. Through Naraki's link, their collective consciousness flowed into the ancient structure. It was as if the entire history of their species, their hopes, dreams, and indomitable spirit, was being poured into a cosmic crucible. The precursor structure blazed with renewed energy, its crystalline spires extending outward in a dazzling display of light and power. A wave of energy exploded outward, washing over the Void Collective ships. But where it touched, it did not destroy. Instead, it transformed. The crew watched in awe as the Void Collective vessels began to change. Their dark, consuming forms were reshaped, the single-minded hunger that drove them giving way to something new: individuality, free will, the capacity for growth and change. As the energy wave expanded, Ava knew it would sweep across the galaxy, undoing the damage the Void Collective had wrought and immunizing countless worlds against their threat. They had done it. They had saved not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. In the aftermath of the transformation, the bridge of the Curiosity was silent, the crew struggling to process the magnitude of what they had just accomplished. It was Zack who finally broke the silence, his voice filled with wonder. "So, do we get overtime pay for saving the universe?" The tension broke, and the bridge erupted in laughter and tears of relief. They had faced the impossible and emerged victorious, forever changing the course of galactic history. In the days that followed, as news of their achievements spread across the galaxy, the crew of the Curiosity found themselves hailed as heroes. The Zephyrian hub, once a place of dismissal and ridicule for humanity, now welcomed them with open arms, or tentacles, or whatever appendages the various species possessed. High Counselor Zix, its iridescent skin shimmering with what could only be described as embarrassment, formally apologized for the earlier treatment of the human delegation. "We gravely underestimated your species," the alien admitted. "You have shown us that true strength lies not in technological advancement alone, but in adaptability, creativity, and an indomitable spirit. The galaxy is a richer place with humanity among the stars." As ceremonies were held and accolades poured in, Ava found a quiet moment to address her crew. "I'm proud of each and every one of you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "We came out here to prove humanity's worth, to earn our place among the stars. But we've done so much more than that. We've shown that cooperation, that bringing together diverse talents and perspectives, is the key to overcoming even the greatest challenges." She looked around at the faces of her crew, human and alien alike, seeing in them the future of galactic cooperation. "This is just the beginning," she continued. "We've opened the door to a new era of exploration, of scientific discovery, of bringing together the best of all our cultures. The road ahead won't be easy, but I can't think of a better team to face it with. As the Curiosity prepared for its journey back to Earth, now accompanied by a fleet of alien vessels eager to establish formal diplomatic relations, Ava stood on the observation deck, gazing out at the star-studded expanse. They had set out to find humanity's place in the cosmos, and had instead helped reshape the very fabric of galactic society. The future was uncertain, filled with both promise and challenge. But as Ava watched her human and alien crew working seamlessly together, she felt a surge of hope. They had proven that the human spirit, when combined with the unique strengths of other species, could accomplish the impossible. As the ship's engines hummed to life, preparing to take them home, Ava smiled. The greatest adventure of all, building a truly united galactic community, was just beginning. And humanity, once dismissed as primitive newcomers, would be at the forefront, ready to face whatever the cosmos had in store, with courage, creativity, and an unwavering belief in the power of cooperation. The stars beckoned, and this time, all of humanity would answer the call together.